The storm came out of nowhere. Jace had been guiding his salvage skiff through the asteroid belt, hunting for old wreckage worth hauling back, when the sun spat a flare that crackled through his instruments. The scanner went blind, and the hum of his ship dropped into silence for a heartbeat. When the systems flickered back to life, he wasn't alone anymore. She was there, floating in the black. An alien girl, framed by the shattered remains of a ruined shuttle. Her skin shimmered faintly with a silver-blue tint, her hair drifting like strands of starlight around her face. Most striking were her eyes, bright but shadowed, as if they carried a weight far heavier than her delicate frame. She pressed her hands against his skiff's viewport, lips forming words he couldn't hear. Jace, half certain this was madness born of the solar flare, still cycled the airlock open. The girl collapsed into his arms the moment she crossed inside. And when she woke, hours later in his bunk, she whispered the first words he'd ever hear from her. "I cannot be far from you." The beginning, a refugee in the dark. Her name was Scifi. She spoke in halting English, enough for him to understand she had fled destruction. Her people scattered, her vessel destroyed. She refused to explain more, only that she needed to remain close to him. First, Jace thought it was fear. The galaxy was cruel to runaways. Pirates, slavers, syndicates all hunted the vulnerable. But there was more in her gaze than terror. Something smoldered there, a secret she would not speak. On Haven 9, the lonely station where Jace brought his salvage, Scifi trailed him like a shadow. She never let more than a few steps of distance grow between them. In the docking bay, in the crowded markets, even in the greasy tavern where Jace bought his supplies, she was there, her eyes darting nervously at every passerby. The station folk noticed. They whispered, "Why's that alien girl clinging to him? What's she hiding?" Even Hannah, the station doctor, pulled Jace aside one evening. "She's not just scared, Jace. Something's wrong. I've seen those eyes before, haunted like someone carrying a sickness they dare not share." But when Jace asked Scifi directly, she only lowered her gaze and murmured, "Please, trust me." And for reasons he couldn't name, he did. The middle, shadows unveiled. The first sign came 3 nights later. Jace woke to alarms shrieking, his skiff's engines powering on by themselves. Scifi stood in the cockpit, her hands pressed against the console. Symbols of light rippled beneath her fingers, alien script crawling across the screen. "Scifi!" Jace grabbed her shoulders, pulling her back. The moment he touched her, the symbols vanished, the ship powered down, and she collapsed into his chest, trembling. Tears streaked her face. I can't control it," she whispered. "That's why I must stay close. You quiet it." "What do you mean?" Her eyes, dark and gleaming, lifted to his. And for the first time she spoke the truth. Inside her lived something ancient, an intelligence not of her kind, not of any flesh. A weapon, crafted long ago and hidden inside her bloodline, passed down until it chose to awaken. It had destroyed her people's world when others sought to claim it. "I ran," she said, voice shaking. "But the weapon, it calls. It hungers. When I am far from you, it stirs. But when you are near, Jace, it sleeps." Jace's throat tightened. He wasn't a soldier, nor a hero, just a salvager scraping by. Yet now he saw the truth. This girl was both victim and prison of something that could tear whole fleets apart. And she clung to him not out of love, not at first, but because he was her anchor against oblivion. Rising conflict. Hunters arrive. The secret didn't stay hidden for long. Word of an alien refugee always spread fast, and Haven 9 wasn't as forgotten as Jace had wished. The hunters came, mercenaries under a crimson banner, their ships docking under false codes. They moved through the station like wolves scenting prey. One night, as Jace and Scifi returned to the skiff, a man stepped from the shadows, blaster raised. His smile was sharp and cruel. "You've got something that doesn't belong to you, human. Hand the girl over." Scifi's grip crushed Jace's arm. He saw her eyes flare, symbols burning faintly in the dark. The weapon inside her stirred, ready to lash out. Jace moved faster. He shoved her behind him, pulled the cutter torch from his belt, and slashed upward. The mercenary howled, weapon clattering as Jace drove him back. Scifi, instead of unleashing the storm within, pressed her face into Jace's back and clung tight. Together they ran. The climax. A choice of trust. The mercenaries chased them to the outer docks, blasters lighting the shadows. Jace dragged Scifi into his skiff, sealing the hatch as bolts sparked against the hull. Engines roared to life. They barely cleared the station before two hunters gave pursuit. Scifi's hands trembled over the console. The symbols began to glow again, burning brighter than ever. "I can destroy them," she whispered. "One thought, one command, and they'll burn. But if I do, the weapon will awaken fully. And then, nothing will stop it. Not even you." Jace stared at her, the girl whose every moment had been chained to fear, whose secret had stolen her freedom. "You don't have to fight alone," he said softly. "Let me choose with you." He reached out. Slowly, hesitantly, Scifi placed her hand in his. The glow in her eyes dimmed, the storm receded. And instead of unleashing destruction, Jace gunned the engines, weaving the skiff through the asteroid belt. The hunters followed, until one clipped a drifting rock and exploded in flame. The other, shaken, veered off and fled. They had survived, not through the weapon's wrath, but through trust. The ending, the secret, and the bond. Silence filled the skiff once the danger passed. Scifi sat curled in the co-pilot's chair, her head against the viewport, watching fragments of light drift in the void. "I should leave you," she said at last. "The longer I stay, the more danger follows. And the secret inside me, it will never stop hungering." Jace shook his head. "Then we'll keep it hungry together." Her eyes turned to him, dark as a starless sea, yet softer now, lit by something fragile, hope. She leaned close, her voice barely a breath. "Why? Why risk yourself?" He managed a tired smile. "Because you deserve more than chains. Because no one should carry a burden like that alone." For the first time since he found her, Scifi's lips curved into a trembling smile. She shifted, resting against his shoulder, her eyes closing at last in peace. And Jace, staring out into the endless dark, knew her secret would follow them forever. But so would he. Because sometimes, even when the galaxy trembles before the shadows, one human heart is enough to keep the light alive.